First of all, some announcements. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to get the Sasha Banks versus Bailey review and actually take a respect done over the weekend. Last night I got home really late, and then I was busy for most of the day today. Hey, I will try to have it out by tomorrow. As always, I appreciate you guys' patience with me as I try to get this content out. And of course, System Shock Radio and Session Labyrinth tonight are going to be going up pretty late, so I do apologize about that as well. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first one we're going to talk about is everything going on with AEW right now. Now, I'm not saying any of this to bash AEW at all. In fact, they're coming to Buffalo, and I'm excited. I'm literally going to their show in Buffalo. I'm excited for this. It's happening on my birthday, so I'm definitely going. But a lot of stuff is going on, and a lot of stuff has been happening that I feel like is worth talking about, especially because it seems like almost every day it's something new going on, and some of the stuff is pretty interesting. What's going on? Some good, some bad. Had quite a bit of bad. For starters, there was the rumor that CM Punk was unhappy with his role and everything in AEW and how he was being treated and such, and thought about walking out. Apparently, he said that that's a lie, that it never happened, and that he's not unhappy. He says he's happy with AEW. So, not sure who started the rumor, and not sure who's exactly telling the truth here. But if CM Punk says it's wrong, then I'm gonna guess it's probably wrong because it's the man himself. So, I'll probably guess it's likely wrong. But there was that. Eddie Kingston is now suspended. He got into a fight with Sammy Guevara after. At first, it started off as like, oh, Sammy Guevara insulted him, so Eddie Kingston swung. But then we learned more. Apparently, Sammy Guevara was, according to Eddie Kingston, was being kind of a jerk, and so Eddie swung at him. And Eddie, props to Eddie Kingston, he owned up to it, said he was wrong, and that he started the suspension and everything. Thunder Rosa was involved in an incident, and she's also injured. She's the current AEW Women's Champion, and their place are going to have an interim champion, which that's actually a smart move by AEW. If the champion is not there, you don't necessarily want to strip them of the title, especially if it's not going to be a long injury. Having an interim champion in the meantime, and then have the two fight out for who's the real champion, and I think is kind of a smart move, even though it's been done before many times. In fact, it was done with the AEW Championship, and Jon Moxley squashed CM Punk in about 5 minutes. Now, literally, I was waiting on purpose till later on in the show to see like what would happen in the main event. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait till like 9:30 and I'm gonna tune in. And then at 9:30, I saw that the Death Triangle was facing I forget the name of Will Ospreay's group, and I was like, wait, what? And they said this is the main event. I'm like, what? This is the main event? That means the world title match already happened? And then I saw what happened. I saw the whole debacle. I was like, oh, why? Now, there's there could be a few reasons. Some people are saying CM Punk was hurt. Some tried to say that this is probably punishment for Punk being unhappy, although that's always been kind of like, that's never really rubbed me the right way, is you're unhappy, now let me make you more unhappy by punishing you on air. That's always weird. Some people were saying it was because MJF was going to show up. He never did. But then also, they said they're still going to have CM Punk and Jon Moxley face off at All Out, which is next Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. They're still going to face off at All Out for the championship. Okay, if that's the case, then what was the point of them fighting on Dynamite? You might as well just skip the Dynamite match, because now how you already unified the championship, so CM Punk's just going to be challenging for the AEW championship. Why not just save the AEW title match for not for Dynamite, but for All Out, especially if you were going to have the squash ending like that. It's weird how they booked that. And Moxley made a comment about WWE saying that's not tuned into that Monday, Friday crap that WWE has. Mox, you forget they had a Tuesday show too, NXT 2.0, but why are we still calling it 2.0? It's pretty much now just NXT. I think the 2.0 faded out a long time ago when Black and Gold ended, and which has pretty much happened for about a year. So I want to talk about, NXT 2.0 once we get to the year marker and pretty much look at the year of NXT 2.0 in review. And there's something else I want to review, but it depends on what happens at Clash of the Castle. And I'm sure, I'm not going to say it here yet. I'm pretty sure you guys can probably figure out what I want to talk about. But yeah, a lot of stuff happening with AEW. We got some new stuff for the Fight Forever game, some gameplay and everything. And seeing some of the gameplay, I didn't see a whole lot because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. But looking at not just the graphics but the gameplay, it definitely has like an arcadey feel to it, which isn't a bad thing. And WWE games used to have like that arcadey feel even when they were like simulation. Now they've switched more to like purely simulation and type gameplay. But this one has more of an arcadey feel, which which I think is going to work out, and it's definitely an alternative. It's definitely a switch up for how WWE does it with like the straight simulation and everything, and having more like an arcadey tone to it, and I think could work out. But sadly, FTR is not going to be in the game. In fact, FTR was removed from the game, and some people have speculated why. They said they likely want to release FTR or as DLC later on, which, if that's the case, that is pretty disappointing. Because FTR has been there for a while, former AEW Tag Team Champions, and you already made them for the game. Why not put them in the game? You already have them there. Why'd you remove them? They're still on the roster and everything. There's several superstars that could be added for DLC. They can have like a Future Stars pack or like a supplemental characters pack. Heck, you got some late arrivals to AEW who aren't going to make it in the game. In like the core game. Like Adam Cole, even though he was kind of late arrival, still going to make it in the game. But you can do like Keith Lee or Swerve Strickland or like Brody King or Athena, or you can do like a Future Stars pack like Danny Garcia or Hook or who else? The Gun Club or the Varsity Blonde on superstars like that. There's a lot of superstars you can put in like a DLC pack. You don't have to save FTR for that DLC if that's why. Otherwise, it's just FTR being taken out of the game. But man, that's super disappointing. And I will also say this about AEW, who some people, and I think I kind of talked about it briefly because I have sort of briefly talked about the AEW video game and what we knew about it at the time, how the roster was going to be kind of small. But I maintain that look at like WWE games. WWE games, at least nowadays, usually have very big rosters. But let's be honest, out of all the superstars on that roster, how many of those people do you actually play as? I'm just saying. And I'll admit, I probably haven't even touched like half the roster in terms of actually playing as them. And you set up your go-to. You have options for the superstars, and what I like to do is go into edit the superstar to like make custom attires for them, and that's pretty fun. But mostly because I like creativity and stuff, and I like creating attires, or I just want to give them their attires from older games because those attires were cool and I wanted to give them to them. But otherwise, you're probably not going to play as a lot of those characters. So the fact that AEW probably realized this and probably didn't have a very big roster, just a lot of the major stars that you'd want in an AEW video game, I think was a smart move. And it's going to be a lot of the day ones like Jungle Boy and Darby Allin, I know, are in the game. Kenny Omega's in the game. I think CM Punk is in the game. Jericho's definitely in the game. And in fact, they fixed his character model, which people were happy about, kind of. And Cody's still going to be in the game, which I'm glad WWE is allowing, because Cody was such an integral part of forming AEW in the first place. Plus, it's probably too late to take him out at this point. But, well no, because they took out Nash Carter for the DLC for 2K22, which, let me know in the comments below, were you upset that Nash Carter didn't make it to the game? Now, obviously, the he got released, and the reason behind that is that's honestly a topic for another time. But the fact that they were pretty much done with him, and then he ended up getting released, so they had to cut him from the game. And if you look in the game files, you can still find like the entrance for both members of MSK and everything, and they still gave Wesley like the MSK Titantron and the music and stuff. So that sucks. Now it just goes to him. Which, by the way, I'm surprised Cody. Why not give us Cody then as DLC for 2K22? They, in lieu of removing the superstar, because they removed the superstar, in lieu of that, they gave us more cards for My Faction, if I'm not mistaken, which is one of the only, which I think is like the only game mode and universe that I haven't played yet for 2K22. But yes, yeah, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on that. But back to the AEW video game. And honestly, a lot of stuff happening with AEW, but I think AEW will turn out fine. They had like a meeting and everything the other day, and Kenny Omega tried to psych up the locker room, even though some people were saying it came across as mean. And Tony Khan said he's not going to be a pushover, and Tony Khan warned WWE not to tamper with AEW contracts, which makes sense. But judging by all of this, a lot of people have asked, is this the end of AEW? My answer, probably not. This is stuff that WWE's gone through in the past before, or almost word for word verbatim. But even with all this stuff, I'm sure AEW will likely be fine. They probably aren't going anywhere anytime soon. The only thing I can think of that will like shut down AEW is like something really major, like a major scandal. And even that didn't really rock WWE that much, like what happened with Vince McMahon, and that hasn't seemed to rock WWE way too much, except that now Triple H is in charge. But I think AEW will turn out just fine. They'll be all good. Don't worry about them. But let's move on to the next topic. I know I talked about that topic at length, but only because it was quite a bit and a lot I had to address when it came to that. It looks like we're getting an Avatar: The Last Airbender RPG soon. In fact, November of this year, here I think they said, and apparently it's gonna be Breath of the Wild style, based on like Legends of the Breath of the Wild, and taking inspiration from that. So I guess what that means is like big open exploration, lots to do and stuff like that. I'm interested. I am really interested to see where this goes. It should be like a customizable thing where you can select your character, you can like customize them to your liking and everything, and you can also select your bending style if you want to do like water bending, earth bending, air bending, or fire bending. And it should have the bending sub styles that you get with that. So like, for example, if you get water bending, you get like blood bending and stuff like that. If you get earth bending, you get metal bending and stuff like that. If you get fire bending, you also get lightning bending. And if you get air bending, you get like the air scooter and things like that. And then you also get like the G blocker and stuff that Aang used to defeat the Fire Lord. But I'm excited to see where this game goes, and the fact that it's RPG and everything definitely shows that. The thing about RPGs is they usually have a lot of lore behind them, and they're usually pretty nice and long. So a nice long RPG based off one of the greatest cartoons of all time, the possibilities are endless. Hopefully they don't ruin this. They shouldn't. The game almost writes itself. Like, it'd be hard. You probably have to intentionally mess up the game, but hopefully the game is fun, and I'm excited. I want to see where it goes. Gaming craze is in the air. This year is gonna be pretty good for gaming, and already kind of has been pretty good. We got like Multiverses, we got the TMNT games coming back, and then we got the Avatar RPG. We got AEW Fight Forever coming out later this year. Or we got 2K22, which I argue is one of the best WWE games in years. There's a lot of good stuff in terms of gaming. The next thing I want to talk about, I want to answer the question that's been on a lot of people's mind. Is the MCU on a decline? A lot of people have noted that things haven't quite felt the same in the MCU since after the Infinity Saga wrapped up, after the big battle and Endgame, and then of course Far From Home and things like that. And is the MCU on a decline? Are we seeing the beginning of the end? My answer which the shows I've heard mixed stuff about. Oh, the movies I've heard mixed stuff about, and some of them were not really as good as earlier MCU stuff. But if you remember the early MCU, it took a little bit to find its footing. I feel like with the early MCU, and maybe I'm alone here, I feel like the early MCU didn't really find its footing too much until we got to Avengers, and then that's when the MCU really started to get it and really start to really start to flourish and everything. And I think it's the same for this era of the MCU, which is the multiverse saga. So playing off the multiverse and everything, which has already been established in MCU canon with stuff like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man No Way Home, which also involves Doctor Strange. Pretty much just anything involving Doctor Strange and WandaVision, of course. But I feel like the MCU is going to bounce back, and the MCU, they're battle tested at this point. They've definitely been through some stuff, such as like casting changes and stuff like that, and some problems as of late that we saw in the Infinity Saga, and then they bounced back from that. And I think they'll do the same here. I think the MCU is going to be just fine. They just got to refine that footing, find that thing that really makes them stand out once again, and like they did before, or whether it be with another movie, which Black Panther 2 is coming out, Wakanda Forever with Namor. I'm super excited about that because I absolutely adore Namor the Submariner, or the Fantastic Four movie, or even Ant-Man the Lost Quantumania. But I think the MCU is going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. They just got to refine their footing. Sometimes it takes a little bit to like get it, and sometimes it takes a little bit to like re-get it. And I think the MCU is going to re-get it, I believe. But maybe that's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about is inspiration. And why is inspiration so important? First of all, let's look up the textbook definition here, as I always do. It's the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative, or a sudden, brilliant, creative, or timely idea. So pretty much using what's out there to inspire you in other aspects of your life, right? Whether it's something that you're doing creatively, something you want to do on an everyday basis, pretty much finding something to look at to motivate you to be able to do different things and to accomplish different things. That is really the gist of like inspiration and everything like that. And I draw my inspiration for my content and just my overall style of doing things from a lot of different sources. And no matter what you're inspired by, be inspired by and know why it is that makes it good in the first place, and then use it for your thing. For example, a lot of comedians inspire each other, and a lot of like directors are inspired by other movies and other things. For example, in my Giovanni Versace crime analysis, which if you haven't already, go check out that video. But he was inspired by ancient art, or Greco-Roman art, for his fashion and everything. Sometimes inspiration comes from the weirdest place it is, believe it or not, and sometimes you may not understand why you're inspired by it at first, but when it unfolds and when you get that fantastic thing that was a result of your inspiration, and it will really help in the long run. Maybe I'm just rambling, but it doesn't make sense to you guys. Let me know, and let me know what you guys are inspired by. I love to hear from you guys. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I'll try to have the review out tomorrow, and Tales Labyrinth is going to be out later on tonight as well, of course. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on anything I talked about in this video and the responses to the questions that I posed. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And I will see you guys later. Peace.